It was cold and snowy in the countryside of Iceland. A harsh wind blew on the night of Yule. Families across the country began to prepare for supper, while children played excitedly with their morning gifts. It was a delightful celebration for most, but while the families began to eat, a great shadow padded across the country. House to house the shadow visited, always peeking through a window with a great glowing eye. It was a creature familiar to anyone and everyone, a cat with floofy fur, although this cat was very unusual. Its eyes glowed like the moon, its fur became sharp as blades when angry, and most curiously, this cat was the size of a house. If you had received a certain gift, it would purr and move on to the next home. But if you didn't get such a gift, well, that house would be empty by the coming morning. The Yule Cat, or Yule is an Icelandic folklore said to originate during the Dark Ages through oral tradition, while appearing in written history beginning in the 19th century. The legend tells of how on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, the Yule Cat goes from home to home checking if its inhabitants got new clothing as gifts. If they did receive new clothing, the cat leaves the home for its celebration and moves on to the next. But if they did not, then the cat eats all the food in the house as an appetizer, and then the people for the main course. The only other way to avoid such a fate is to gift clothing to the unfortunate. The Yule Cat has a unique connection to clothing, and so is able to sense if you received or gifted such apparel. The legend is used as a lesson to work hard. Back in medieval Iceland, the wool industry was revving up, so employers would reward both money and clothing to their workers if they worked hard. But if one were lazy, they would receive nothing, and therefore were gobbled up by the Yule Cat. Perhaps this is where the legend came from, a story that was used to make sure the wool employees were working hard. While today the legend is still a good lesson for working hard and a great tool to make sure your kid isn't being lazy, it is also a lesson of gratitude, to be thankful for what we have and to share some of it with those who have very little. That way, the Yule Cat is appeased. While single-handedly being a grim beast, the Yule Cat is actually part of a family of Icelandic Yule creatures who adopted the feline when they met. In a cave somewhere hidden in Iceland, there is a family of 15, led by a troll witch. In some descriptions, she is a giant old hag. In others, she is a giant grotesque creature with 15 tails, goat horns and hooves, long ears that stretch to her shoulders, and numerous heads, the most being 300. This witch is named Gryla, who dates back to the 13th century in written history. She ventures out of her cave on Christmas Day with empty sacks on her back. She searches for children who have been misbehaving and sometimes even asks parents to hand over their most misbehaved child. Once she acquires a child, she packs them into her sack, and when she is satisfied with her haul, she makes her way back to the cave. There, she cooks the children in a stew for herself and her lazy husband, Lepaludi, who does nothing but sit in a chair all year long. Together, Gryla and her husband live in a cave with their 13 mischievous children called the Yule-Lads, who are pranksters and enjoy stealing and harassing. Beginning on December 12th, only one Yule-Lad leaves the cave. Every day up to the 25th, a single Yule-Lad leaves to cause mischief. And after 13 days from the day they left, they appear back in the cave one by one until January 6, where they all fall asleep until next year. With names like Door Slammer, Window Peeper, and Sausage Swiper, you can bet that the mischief they cause is truly quite the sight, and I bet quite annoying. While the Yule Cat was a folklore originally told through oral tradition, it became famous in a poem written by Johannes R. Cotlam in 1932, which goes like this. You all know the Yule Cat, and that cat was huge indeed. People didn't know where he came from, or where he went. He opened his glaring eyes wide, the two of them glowing bright. It took a really brave man to look straight into them. His whiskers sharp as bristles, his back arched up high, and the claws of his hairy paws were a terrible sight. He gave a wave of his strong tail, he jumped and he clawed and he hissed, sometimes up in the valley, sometimes down by the shore. He roamed at large, hungry and evil, in the freezing Yule snow. In every home, people shuddered at his name. If one heard a pitiful meow, something evil would happen soon. Everybody knew he hunted men, but didn't care for mice. He picked on the very poor, that no new garments got, or Yule, who toiled and lived in dire need. From them he took in one fell swoop their whole Yule dinner, always eating it himself if he possibly could. Hence it was that the woman at their spinning wheels sat, spinning a colorful thread, or a frock, or a little sock. Because you mustn't let the cat get hold of the little children. They had to get something new to wear from the grown-ups each year. And when the lights came on Yule Eve and the cat peered in, the little children stood rosy and proud, all dressed up in their new clothes. Some had gotten an apron, and some had gotten shoes, or something that was needed. That was all it took. Or all who got something new to wear stayed out of that pussycat's grasp. He then gave an awful hiss, but went on his way. Whether he still exists, I do not know, but his visits would be in vain if next time everybody got something new to wear. Now you might be thinking of helping where help is needed most. Perhaps you'll find some children that have nothing at all. Perhaps searching for those that live in a lightless world will give you a happy day and a merry, merry Yule. I know that receiving clothes isn't the most exciting of gifts. Heck, it was never my favorite present when I was a child. But when you do get a pair of socks or an ugly Christmas sweater, be thankful and watch your windows closely. Because if you're lucky, you might just see the glowing orbs of the famous Yule Cat. Hey, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe. I have more Christmas stories coming out this month, as well as more mythology stories on the way. So please don't forget to subscribe to keep updated. Well, until next time on Wild Mythology.